We're now on to one of the closing out sessions of the afternoon. We've got 2 more speaker sessions, then a panel coming up. But I've been lucky enough just to have a conversation with Oliwia, who is the Global Head of TA over at SEAT. We're talking about some really fundamental things around the talent acquisition model and end-to-end responsibility focused on the improvement of the candidate journey. We've seen some great stuff about candidate journey, candidate experience. What does employee experience and wellness look like? And it's really going to be great to hear what Oliwia's got to say about how SEAT have managed that change and how they've changed the way that people interact with them both as an employer and as a brand. So without further ado, I will pass over to Oliwia. Oliwia, great to have you join us. As I said before, we'll try and grab maybe 5-10 minutes at the end for a conversation, and anybody who wants to add any questions in, please do so on the left-hand side. There is a Q&A panel there. Oliwia will be more than happy to answer your questions. But for now, Oliwia, I will hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Matt, and very happy welcome to everybody. I'm really pleased to be able to join the conference and to share with you the experience that we are going through right now in my company, which is SEAT, the part of Volkswagen Group, also taking under consideration the situation on the moment, maybe in general for automobile industry, and also to focus it on the situation that we are living right now in HR, in talent acquisition unit. So as a short introduction, I would like to share with you a short video so that I don't speak so much, and then you can have a better idea of what is said and what is the moment that we are going through right now. So please share with me. Please let me share with you the video.
Today, the only constant is change. At a faster pace than ever before. Change has been part of our DNA along the way, making us fearless and brave, eager to explore the road ahead. Now, we are reimagining mobility and driving, one bold step at a time, sparking a new impulse, striking design, electric passion. For those who care, and especially for those who dare. A mobility for all. We are evolving to achieve this together. One company, 2 commercial brands. Ready? You're in for a ride. 2 distinct brands, a unified spirit. We are one. We are SEAT SA. A contemporary new expression. A style that conveys our transformative power. With a modular system for on and offline touchpoints. Flexible, adaptable, yet always true to our unique DNA. Here's to future challenges, for we know how to face them. Together. Better, bolder, brighter. We are SEAT SA.
Okay, so that was just an introduction in order to transmit you the situation in which we are right now in SEAT. Well, SEAT is a company, automobile company. We produce and we sell cars. We are a part of Volkswagen Group. As you can see in this slide right now, we are, well, a lot of different brands inside of a Volkswagen Group. And also I would say that really an important factor for also our human resources strategies is that right now we are facing as a whole industry a lot of different challenges. Okay, so the digitalization challenge, which is a challenge for all of the companies worldwide, for every sector. We are also changing the challenge of electrification. Additionally, as said, we are changing the challenge of creation of a new brand, which is Cupra, inside of SEAT, because as you can see in the screen, a part of SEAT, which is a brand born in Barcelona, like in '60s, which passed through different moments. Right now, since 4 years, we launched our Cupra brand. We have also our SEAT Code, which is our software development center. We have SEAT Mo, which is another company that belongs to SEAT, and basically that provides like different mobility solutions, maybe shared mobility, things like this. And this whole scenario, you know, like taking under consideration everything what is going on in the world, in our industry, digitalization, electrification, right now also the challenges regarding COVID and so on. This also, of course, affects our strategies as human resources. So if we also take a short view at what is going on basically in the world of talent acquisition, right? So first of all, we have the scenario of SEAT, of Cupra. Then we have to also take under consideration that really the way that we attract talent has changed a lot during last years. Yeah, I remember when I was responsible only for the recruiting department many years ago. Basically, our work like posting the vacancies, and there were so many people interested in our jobs. They just posted, and we were in charge of make sure that the process is the best one. Right now, as you all know, the rules of the game changed a lot. Yeah, we are competing with different companies for the same talents. Normally, we are looking for the same professionals with the same competencies. Then, well, it's nothing new that we would say that we need a lot of tech profiles, STEM profiles for our software development center, but also for jobs inside of SEAT. Then another challenge is also if we think about designing the experience for the candidate, is the first time that we have so many different generations with so many different mindsets working together. So also when you design this talent acquisition journey, you have to also take under consideration that your target group, they are very, very different. Then there's a lot of different movements. What we see is like maybe our policies before, they were like focused on attracting people, like retaining them or engaging them for a long, long time. Right now, I remember people who maybe started to work for SEAT when they were, I don't know, 25, and they finished their whole professional career when they were to retirement. Right now it is changing a lot. The people, they are moving much more. Then for us right now, in this whole scenario of transformation, we are searching for profiles, for people or for candidates that all of the companies, they're like fighting for. And most of those profiles, they are passive ones. So also the way you approach them, it has to be different. Right now in SEAT, we also see that with electric cars, the profiles will change, but we'll also maybe need less people, but with much more complex capacities and competences. Right now, really we focus on everything what is connected with diversity. In automobile industry, it's even more challenging, because if we see maybe how many girls are studying technical studies, the percentage is really low. So if we focus on diversity in terms of gender equality, it's really a big challenge. So this is more or less our scenario. Yeah, our sector is changing a lot. Our company is changing a lot. We are transforming us from like automotive producers into company that should deliver mobility solutions. So this is also from perspective of profiles that we need as a new scenario, and also the scenario basically of what is talent acquisition. And I'm sure that during the different speeches we could hear during the conference that this is what is happening right now. So okay, what happened here in SEAT, in my division, in talent acquisition? Basically, I'm sorry. Okay, basically, in the whole Volkswagen Group, we defined a concept which is a factories concept. this factory maybe is not a very nice word, but basically what we saw that in the big companies, also automobile companies, as we are really focused on processes and so on, when we divide the responsibility, really nobody finally feels like an owner of the process. So that was the first strategical decisions. We thought, okay, if we want to be competitive in recruiting market, if we want to really attract the best talents, what we have to do is to improve the process. And from that point of view, we need to define well this responsibility end to end. Of course, like in a lot of different big companies or different groups, we had to adapt that concept for SEAT. We called the project Reinventing HR. And for me, you know, like the life motive was we have to create like in love candidate journey, and create this whole path of candidates, starting with employer branding, going through recruitment, and finishing the whole process in onboarding. So that was the first change, that we defined different processes. We did the transformation of our HR department, and those responsibilities, they were assigned completely end to end to our talent acquisition division. The next step was to define like different blocks, which you can see on the screen. Basically, for me, the whole strategy we could define in this 8 different pillars. So the first one, really clear definition of end-to-end responsibility. Right now, talent acquisition department, so the recruiting partners, they are the single interlocutor between different stakeholders in the process. So they are the only ones who are in charge of the communication with the candidate. So all of our candidates, they know exactly who is the contact person. And also the recruiting partners, they are in charge of communication with other stakeholders, like maybe HR VPs, hiring managers, HR operations, but they are the owner of the whole information and the whole workflow. Then what we do also, and this is like, I think that very familiar for German companies, we are really focused on our workflows and procedures, but we really try to make it very simple and very clear and transparent to everybody involved. So we defined all of our workflows. Then we also, taking under consideration this big transformation of our company, of course, we need talents from outside, but we also put a big emphasis of everything what is reskilling and also transformation of our employees. That's why the topic of internal job market plays a really important role for us. Before, we already had our internal job burst, we could say. So we were also in charge of promoting internal mobilities, but right now it works like external job market. We have our platform also connected with all of our systems, and we really make sure that our employees have opportunities also to try new jobs, to learn new things in order to stay with us in this new constellation. Then we also use in our selection process, one of the pillars is assessment center. So we use this methodology. I would say that it's a very predictive methodology in order to evaluate the competencies of our group, of our Volkswagen group, but we also modernize it a lot. So right now we are working with new solutions like gamification. In COVID circumstances, of course, we had to adapt our methodologies to be able to continue with all the selection processes online and in remote, and we already do it with assessment center, but also making sure that the quality of what we are evaluating is really high. Then the role of the recruiter, of the recruiting partner, really changed. Before, I would say that we work maybe a little bit like an owners of the CVs. Okay, so we were moving the CVs from hiring manager to HRBP, but we are really not in charge of the process. Right now, the recruiting partner is really the one who is responsible and owner of the processes. Then for me, I would say that one of the the central points is all the technology that we use. So as we use different platforms in order to do different selection processes, it's really important for me, you know, to for the recruiting partners really be focused on the process and on the people, on the candidates, on the hiring managers, and use all of the technologies and all our platforms in order to help with all the administrative tasks, to really have all the information connected. Then, before this new model, employer branding was a kind of totally separate department. Right now, for me, it was also very important to introduce the whole employer branding strategy together with recruitment. So right now, I would say that all of the employer branding activities or campaigns that we do, they are really focused on the real necessities of our company in the short term, but also in the long term. What I mean by short term, of course, when we start the campaign and we need to recruit, I don't know, specialists in electric batteries, we launch the whole campaigns online and social media. We also maybe organize some meetups, etc. So I would say this is something really like short term, because we need to fill in the vacancies right now. But on the other hand, we also try to be really predictive and be focused on the future strategy. So for example, right now, as we know that the Cupra brand is growing a lot, and maybe the profile of the people that we will need is changing, and also the new professions that we will need is changing. We are working with the departments in order to predict those necessities and already start with those employer branding strategies before. Then we also define the whole project, which is called onboarding experience. Of course, onboarding is not only the responsibility of talent acquisition. All the departments are involved, but we are like the umbrella for all the different activities. There are like 6 different projects inside of onboarding, so that we really make sure that the whole experience of the candidates, since they receive any information through employer branding campaigns, when they pass through all the process with us, and when they finally get onboarded, they really feel that we care about them, and the whole like storyline is really coherent. So that was more or less like a kind of strategy that we developed, and my basic ideas. But finally, in order to implement it, we also had to build up some synergies, and also maybe to start to work in a different way that in most of the department in HR we are used to. Well, just for you to have a kind of general information, we are really still a very hierarchical company. Of course, in some of the areas it's really necessary, but we are also going through this transformation already to transform to much more modern way of working. And for me, that was a first step that we did. What you can see in the screen right now is the organization of the team. Okay, so we do not use anymore the organizational chart. What we would use, these are 3 different roles. Okay, so we have the role of talent acquisition manager. It's more or less the responsibility, basically the definition of talent acquisition strategy. Then we have 2 different project offices. We have recruitment project office, and we have employer branding and onboarding project office. And then we have talent acquisition partners. Talent acquisition partners, basically these are recruiters and the team which is responsible for young talent programs. For me, it was really very important to transmit this ownership feeling to whole team, to define clearly which are the responsibilities, but also to work in a kind of much more agile way. So in this case, what we do with those project offices, we define some strategical projects, and then finally the recruiters and the team of young talent programs, they are responsible for internship program, for graduate trainee program, and for PhD program. They are responsible end-to-end for employer branding concrete activities, for executing the selection process in terms of young talent programs, to also manage the whole program. So I would say, of course, then maybe right now we would need feedback from them, but my feeling is that really we work with much more engagement. I would say we work with a much more strategical attitude. I think that also the internal perception of HR, and also inside of different divisions by hiring managers, I think that we are doing much more professional work and also focused on real necessities. So right now we work like this since 1 year. And for me, it was really it passed very, very quickly, and I even do not remember how we worked before. So I think that it's a good way to start. And also, just to give you like maybe more operative example. How we work in project offices. Normally what we do, we every 3 months we define different projects for young talent programs, for recruitment, and for employer branding and onboarding. So basically the people who are in project office, they are in charge of the definition of the project, and then they create a kind of team. Because maybe, for example, when we work in recruitment in the whole project of internal job market, we need project offices, but we also need recruiters. So a part of their daily work, recruiters, they are also involved in some more like strategical projects. So basically that was the best practice that I wanted to share with you today. And I hope that you find it useful, maybe for some of your departments, how you can work in another way. And even in a big company like SEAT, when there are really a lot of different structures and the organization is a very classical one, you can transform yourself and work in a different way. Thank you very much. I hope you found it interesting, and of course I will answer all of your questions if there are any.
Thanks very much, Oliwia. That was great. I mean, it always amazes me whenever I get to speak to people who are professionals in this space, who work in large, fairly traditional, fairly complex organizations, who are trying to affect that level of change. And you've got a lot of change that you've managed to achieve there. One of the things that I commonly see when people are trying to change and put in projects such as this is that they struggle sometimes in traditional organizations with leadership, and leadership saying, yes, we understand that you want to make change, but we don't want to. Did you come across many challenges from the leaders within your organization, and how did you deal with that?
Of course, right now, I explain you the final product, but the way to get there was not so easy. I mean, not only with regarding maybe some problems with hiring managers, and some resistances, but also inside of HR. This new organization, it meant a new definition of responsibilities. So maybe some of the departments of some of the roles, they were feeling like that maybe we are entering in their field. So for me, it's important always to understand the company's culture. And if you want to change something, you have to understand in which moment you are right now, to get to the people who maybe think in a different way, to speak their language, but also, take or have very clear what you want to achieve. Yeah, so maybe we went much more step by step. For me, that process was very quick, and I was even imagining that I can change it like from 1 month to another, and it took us almost a year to change. Yeah, because we needed a lot of time in order to convince, in order to fight against those resistances. And also, this is my way of working, of doing that. But I think that sometimes it's better to invest or maybe to wait a little bit, but taking the people on board with you. Because one concrete example, if we talk about HRBPs, they were really not very friendly about those changes. But right now, after 1 year, they say, how could we work in another way before? But why? Because they also were the part of the project. Yeah, and I don't know if I answered your question, but
no, I think you did. I think it's important, that whole thing about when you find resistance, it's about giving somebody else ownership and to say to them, yes, there's change, but this is the benefit to you, and you get to be the person that tells the rest of the business how great that is. That's a really cool way of doing things. We had a couple of questions drop in as well. Inez asked, how do you measure success? This is a really good point, actually. How do you measure success, and what KPIs are you really focusing on?
Okay, so we are using some like very typical KPIs. I mean, for example, time to hire. We reduced it by twice, the whole time to hire, you know. So imagine also the inversion of time and also the cost and so on. So time to hire, time to present, like the typical talent acquisition KPIs. We also do whole questionnaires with candidates and also with other stakeholders of the process. So for me, it's also important the candidate experience, but also the experience of hiring managers. So we do surveys with all the candidates, especially with the candidates who did not pass the process. Yeah, because normally the ones who are getting hired, they are happy about everything, but the ones who maybe they do not get to the final phase of the process, maybe they are some more critical. Then we also created the whole like dashboard for our KPIs, because it was also something that we're not able to measure before, as we were not responsible for whole process. We didn't have influence in some things, but right now, basically, we focus on some KPIs from our ATS, applicant tracking system, from our webpage, because we see that most of the candidates, they get through to our ATS through our webpage. We also have some data from LinkedIn platform. Okay, so we can also measure the usage of our talent solution in LinkedIn. And right now we are also working on our strategy inside of platforms like Indeed or Glassdoor.
Awesome, awesome. A final piece, we've got a couple of minutes left, but you mentioned during the presentation that you were looking at an internal job market. And we've seen a few people talk about a similar concept today. I'm interested in what format that takes. Is that purely to find full-time positions, or are you still potentially looking at people going into project work and secondment as well as part of that?
I think that this is, you know, internal job market. It has to do a lot with the local labor law regulations. Yeah, I think that in Spain we do not have so much flexibility. So basically, right now the only way, or the basic way to hire people is with indefinite full-time contracts. That's why in our internal job market, basically, we are not able maybe to provide so many like flexible solutions. Maybe, I don't know, job sharing. It's very typical in Germany, for example, or also, you know, to participate in a concrete project. But what we try to do is also to search for synergies inside of Volkswagen Group. Okay, so for me, like this internal job market has like 3 different levels. The first one is strictly SAT Cupra level. Then later on, we have a project which is called Move on Iberia. So we connect with our colleagues from different companies from Volkswagen Group inside of Spain. And then we create like kind of global job market for Volkswagen Group. This is still work in progress. Yeah, because we depend also on the implementation of SuccessFactors module recruiting for all the companies. But basically, this is the idea, you know, to work locally, but also to work globally in order to give opportunities to people worldwide.
Yeah, and I think, you know, if you think about the world right now, it's never been more kind of important to think about the local aspects. We've already always talked about kind of international mobility and international work, but actually due to the fact that we've got country restrictions in some countries, we have issues around travel for some people, you do really have to focus on that local piece and make sure that you get that right, and then offer that kind of that globalized piece to ensure that when we return to normal, we've got that opportunity opened up. So it's really good to hear that you're thinking about that. Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Oliwia.
It was really a pleasure, and I wish all of you a very nice afternoon.
Thank you very much, and hopefully, since you're based in Barcelona, next time we will do Barcelona. I keep saying this today.
Hopefully.
I'm sure next time we will.
Hopefully.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thanks.